Hello and welcome to the completely unofficial Luncho read, where instead of feeding my face, I feed my mind. And we left off kind of mid-chapter in this book, the Sutra of Hui-Neng, and we will just kind of try to get through this chapter, which is only a few more pages, so not much more going on. I mean, as far as distance, and I'm not sure exactly where I left off, so I guess I'll just have to pick a spot and continue. So far, it's been about how we got to the point of how and kind of when and under what circumstance uh, Hua Neng became the sixth patriarch and received the I'm not familiar with the word and I don't know where it's at, but it's I want to say Diana. Don't quote me on anything. All right, so I'll just kind of start from here. So you are now the sixth patriarch, said he. Take good care of yourself and deliver as many sentient beings as possible. Spread and preserve the teaching and don't let it come to an end. Take note of my stanza. Sentient beings who sow the seeds of enlightenment in the field of causation will reap the fruit of Buddhahood. Inanimate objects void of Buddha nature, sow not and reap not. He further said, when the patriarch Bodhidharma first came to China, most Chinese had no confidence in him. And so this robe was handed down as a testimony from one patriarch to another. As to the Dharma, this is transmitted from heart to heart, and the recipient must realize it by his own efforts. From time immemorable, it has been the practice for one Buddha to pass to his successor the quintessence of the Dharma, and for one patriarch to transmit to another the esoteric teaching from heart to heart. As the robe may give cause for dispute, you are the last one to inherit it. Should you hand it down to your successor, your life would be in imminent danger. Now leave this place as quickly as you can, lest someone should do you harm. Whither should I go? I asked. At Hai you stop, and at Hui you seclude yourself, he replied. Upon receiving the robe and the begging bowl in the middle of the night, I told the patriarch that, being a southerner, I did not know the mountain rocks tracks, and that it was impossible for me to get to the mouth of the river to catch a boat. You need not worry, said he. I will go with you. He then accompanied me to Chiang and there ordered me into a boat. As he did the rowing himself, I asked him to sit down and let me handle the oar. It is only right for me to carry you across, he said, an allusion to the sea of birth and death which one has to go across before the shore of nirvana can be reached. To this I replied, while I am under illusion, it is for you to get me across, but after enlightenment, I should cross it by myself, although the phrase to go across is the same, it is used differently in each case. As I happen to be born on the frontier, even my speaking is incorrect in pronunciation. But in spite of this, I have had the honor to inherit the Dharma from you. Since I am now enlightened, it is only right for me to cross the sea of birth and death myself by realizing my own essence of mind. Quite so, he agreed. Beginning from you, the Dhyana school will become very popular. 3 years after your departure from me, I shall leave this world. You may start on your journey now. Go as fast as you can toward the south. Do not preach too soon, as Buddhism is not so easily spread. After saying goodbye, I left him and walked towards the south. In about 2 months' time, I reached Taiyu Mountain. There I noticed that several hundred men were in pursuit of me, with the intention of robbing me of my robe and begging bowl. Among them there was a monk named Hui-Neng, whose lay surname was Chen. He was a general of the fourth rank in lay life. His manner was rough and his temper hot. Of all the pursuers, he was the most vigilant in search of me. When he was about to overtake me, I threw the robe and the begging bowl on a rock, saying, "This robe is nothing but a symbol. What is the use of taking it away by force?" I then hid myself. When he got to the rock, he tried to pick them up, but found he could not. Then he shouted out, lay brother, for the patriarch had not yet formally joined the order. I come for the Dharma, not for the robe. Whereupon I came out from my hiding place and squatted on the rock. He made obeisance and said, "Lay brother, preach to me, please." "Since the object of your coming is the Dharma," said I, "refrain from thinking of anything and keep your mind blank. I will then teach you." When he had done this for a considerable time, I said, "When you are thinking of neither good nor evil, what is at that particular moment, venerable sir, your real nature, literally original face?" As soon as he heard this, he at once became enlightened, but he further asked, "Apart from those esoteric sayings and esoteric ideas handed down by the patriarchs from generation to generation, are there any other esoteric teachings?" "What can I tell you is not esoteric," I replied. "If you turn your light inwardly, you will find what is esoteric within you." "In spite of my staying at Hui-Neng," he said, "I did not realize my self-nature. Now, thanks to your guidance, I know it as a water drinker knows how hot or how cold the water is. Lay brother, you are now my teacher." I replied, "If that is so, then you and I are fellow disciples of the fifth patriarch. Take good care of yourself." In answering this question, whither he should go thereafter, I told him to stop at Yuan and take up his abode in Meng. He paid homage and departed. Sometime after I reached Sao Chi, there the evildoers again persecuted me, and I had to take refuge in Su Hui, where I stayed with a party of hunters for a period as long as 15 years. Occasionally I preached to them in a way that befitted their understanding. They used to put me to watch their nets, but whenever I found living creatures therein, I set them free. At mealtimes I put vegetables in the pan in which they cooked their meat. Some of them questioned me, and I explained to them that I would eat the vegetables only after they had been cooked with the meat. One day I bethought myself that I ought not to pass a secluded life all the time, and that it was high time for me to propagate the law. Accordingly, I left there and went to Fa-Sin Temple in Canton. At that time, Bhikshu Yin Sung, master of the Dharma, was lecturing on the Nirvana Sutra in the temple. It happened that one day when a pennant was blown about by the wind, two bhikshus entered into a dispute as to what it was that was in motion, the wind or the pennant. As they could not settle their difference, I submitted to them that it was neither, and that what actually moved was their own mind. The whole assembly was startled by what I said, and Bhikshu Yin Sung invited me to take a seat of honor and questioned me about various knotty points in the sutras. Seeing that my answers were precise and accurate, and that they showed something more than book knowledge, he said to me, "Lay brother, you must be an extraordinary man. I was told long ago that the inheritor of the fifth patriarch's robe and dharma had come to the south. Very likely you are the man." To this I politely assented. He immediately made obeisance and asked me to show the assembly the robe and the baking bowl which I had inherited. He further asked what instructions I had when the fifth patriarch transmitted to me the Dharma. Apart from a discussion on the realization of the essence of mind, I replied, he gave me no other instructions, nor did he refer to dhyana and emancipation. Why not? He asked. Because that would mean two ways, I replied, and there cannot be two ways in Buddhism. There is one way only. He asked what was the only way. I replied, the Mahaparinirvana Sutra, which you expound, explains that Buddha nature is the only way. For example, in that sutra, King Kao Kuite, a bodhisattva, asked Buddha whether or not those who commit the four acts of gross misconduct or the five deadly sins, and those who are Ichkantikas, heretics, and so forth, would eradicate their element of goodness and their Buddha nature. Buddha replied, there are two kinds of elements of goodness, the eternal and the non-eternal. Eternal. Since Buddha nature is neither eternal or non-eternal, therefore their element of goodness is not eradicated. Now, Buddhism is known as having no two ways. There are good ways and evil ways, but since Buddha nature is neither, therefore Buddhism is known as having no two ways. From the point of view of ordinary folks, the component parts of a personality, skandhas, and factors of consciousness, dhaitus, are two separate things. But enlightened men understand that they are not dual in nature. Buddha nature is non-duality. Bhikshu Yinzung was highly pleased with my answer. Putting his two palms together as a sign of respect, he said, "My interpretation of the sutra is as worthless as a heap of debris, while your discourse is as valuable as genuine gold." Subsequently, he conducted the ceremony of hair cutting for me, i.e., the ceremony of initiation into the order, and asked me to accept him as a pupil. Henceforth, under the Bodhi tree, I preached the teaching of the Tung Shan school, the school of the fourth and fifth patriarchs who lived in Tung Shan. Since the time when the Dharma was transmitted to me in Tung Shan, I have gone through many hardships, and my life often seemed to be hanging by a thread. Today, I have had the honor of meeting you in this assembly, and I must ascribe this to our good connection in previous kalpas, cyclic periods, as well as to our common accumulated merits in making offerings to various Buddhas in our past reincarnations. Otherwise, we should have had no chance of hearing the above teaching of the Sudden School, and thereby laying the foundation of our future success in understanding the Dharma. This teaching was handed down from the past patriarchs, and it is not a system of my own invention. Those who wish to hear the teaching should first purify their own minds, and after hearing it, they should each clear up their own doubts in the same way as the sages did in the past. At the end of the address, the assembly rejoiced, making obeisance, and departed. Okay, so that is a conclusion to chapter 1. In chapter 2, I'm not going to start that one. It looks like it's not a long chapter, but compared to the previous book, um, it makes it seem long. The next one is on prajna, and so I will read that one at some later date. At least that's the plan. And then what I was wanting to read, if I can, hopefully I could beat the my get back to work alarm, but we shall only find out if that's possible, is this information on sacred geometry and the Fibonacci sequence. And so let's hear what this says. I haven't read it, but it looked kind of fun. So sacred geometry and the Fibonacci sequence share an intricate dance, a cosmic wow, I can't say that. Choreography that weaves mathematics, nature, and spirituality. Let us explore their harmonious connection. 1. The golden ratio and Fibonacci sequence. The golden ratio, phi, also known as the divine proportion. The golden ratio, whatever this symbol is, I guess that's phi, is approximately 1 0.618. It appears through nature, art, and architecture. Its aesthetic appeal captivates our senses. Mathematically, pi equals parenthesis 1 plus square root of 5 parentheses divided by 2. The Fibonacci sequence, starting with 0 and 1, each new number of the sequence is the sum of the 2 before it: 0, 1, 1, 0, 3, 5, 8, 13. The sequence unfolds in a never-ending pattern, revealing a spiral of growth, the golden spiral. Construct a series of squares whose side lengths follow the Fibonacci number. Connect the diagonals of these squares, creating a spiral, the golden spiral. This spiral appears in seashells, galaxies, hurricanes, and even our own DNA, sacred geometry, and the golden ratio. Ancient architects and artists use the golden ratio to create harmonious structures. The Parthenon in Athens, the Great Pyramid of Giza, and the Notre Dame Cathedral all incorporate this divine proportion. Nature's blueprint. In plants, leaves, and flowers, the arrangement of petals often follows Fibonacci numbers. Pine cones, sunflowers, and pineapples exhibit spirals based on the golden ratio, the connection. The Fibonacci sequence of the golden ratio are intertwined. Each number in the sequence approximates pi or phi more closely as you move along. The ratio of consecutive Fibonacci numbers approaches phi, 5/3, 8/5, 13/8, 21/13, and it continues. The golden ratio emerges from the very fabric of growth and life. In sacred geometry, the golden ratio symbolizes beauty, balance, and the interconnectedness of all things. It whispers secrets of creation, a cosmic language written in numbers. Boom, bam. Thank you, Russ. Send me more good stuff like that. That is fun and interesting to read. And yeah, maybe we'll go into more detail and provide some visuals on something like that at some point. Maybe, maybe not. Only time will reveal these things. Thanks for hanging out and enjoy your day.